Buongiorno a tutti, io inizierei a questo punto. Sorry, I'm doing the talk in English. I started in Italian because I just, miss everything. My talk is about fighting and surviving during the so-called Indiepocalypse or Indiepocalypse. I am Mauro Fanelli, co-founder and CEO of Mixed Bag. Mixed Bag is a very, 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 very small indie studio. We actually started a studio in 2013 as a two-people studio. It was me and my current partner, Andrea Gelato. I was doing all the business stuff, game design, programming, and he was doing all the graphics for our project. Then we grew quite fast. We published some games, and then we are around 7 people studios. We have 4 full-time employees, some permanent collaborators, and we also have various collaborations with other developers for our project. What we did, actually, we did Radium. It was a very weird space shooter that was released first on PS4 and PS Vita in 2014. And then we released it on Steam, iOS, Apple TV. We also did a Wii U version of the game, a new 3DS version of the game. So we released the game on a lot of platforms. And we did Form 8 that actually was released this year. We released it initially in February for PS4, PS Vita, Xbox One, Wii U, PC, and Mac in the beginning. So we had this huge multi-platform release. Then we did an iOS version in June, and then we released Nintendo Switch version in late August. And we also did Facebook Game Room, if someone knows what the platform is. But actually, the game did quite well on Facebook Game Room, so we are quite happy to have made it. And we have many, 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 many more platforms coming for the game. So we'll do Android and a lot of stuff. Actually, as you can imagine, we use Unity as our engine, so we can deploy quite easily and quite fast on a wide array of platforms. What also we did, there are some screenshots of Radium and some screenshots of Forma 8. As you can see, the two games are quite different. So Radium is a 3D game, very fast-paced shooter, while Forma 8 is a 2D atmospheric Metroidvania kind of adventure. So you are this little robotic probe flying around on this alien planet. But the visual style, as you can see, is quite similar. So we like, bright colors and this striking visual style, very, very simple visual style. We also do a lot of collaborations with other studios. Since a couple of years ago, we started thinking about, okay, we've published a console game, we have some experience on a lot of different platforms, and with Unity we have our internal plugins that we use to deploy on different platforms and be fast on different platforms. We can distribute on all consoles basically. So why don't we start like as very, very, very small porting and publishing branch of our business. So we approached Santa Ragione. It's a studio from Milan. They are a very award-winning studio, very well regarded. They did Photonica, they did Mirror Moon EP. Photonica was a huge success on iOS some years ago. So we approached them, and we told them, okay, why don't we work together on your games for console? So you do the PC and iOS version of the game. We can do the ports of the game on PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch and other console platforms, and we can publish them because we already have everything set up to publish games on the different platforms. So we published Wheels of Aurelia. That's their last game. Actually, they published the Steam version was out in September last year. We published the PS4 version in October and the Xbox One version in late November of that year. And we actually did the Nintendo Switch version of the game last week. So in the meantime, we're also working with Broken Arm Games, is another company from Italy. They did some work with on their own games. There is a game under Milestone, a mobile game, and they released Atomine. It's this weird two-stick shooter, and so we decided, okay, we can help you going to console. So we're doing PS4 one version, Xbox One version, and Nintendo Switch version of the game. We also have some other games signed up that we are going to port and publish in the future, but I still can't talk about it right now. So that introduction was to explain that we really work on a lot of stuff at the same time. Actually, we do our own games, but we also try to help other companies do their own stuff. And also, if we need to do it, we do a bit of B2B work. So, for example, we did a VR experience last year for a big company in Turin. It still need to be made public. It will probably be public this month. But for us, it was very important to set up this kind of business too, and not only rely on our own games to survive. So what I really wanted to say that to survive the gaming industry right now as a very small studio, I think you really have to have a lot of stuff going on. It's actually very difficult to survive on a single project because the market is absolutely schizophrenic right now. Since we started to today, we really try to analyze the market to understand what's working and what's not working as a very small self-publishing indie studios. Because this is, for me, currently the state of the indie games market. So everything is burning down, probably. You probably have already heard this kind of... If you follow internet forums about video games development, for sure it's not the first time you're hearing about the so-called Indiepocalypse or Indiepocalypse. It's actually, I think it's a couple of years that we are talking about this, and the thing is that it's actually true. So actually the video game market, not only the indie games market, is very tough right now. And you can hear a lot of people speaking about it. You can have someone telling you that everything is fine, everything's going great, and the market is huge, and we are making a ton of money. And you can hear a lot of people telling you that they are basically broke. The thing is that there is not really a winning formula in the video game market. Everyone have his own kind of formula for success, but success is never guaranteed. So 3 things that you absolutely have to know, in my opinion, is that numbers usually are a lot lower than you think. Usually when you see some numbers online about how much a game sells, you usually focalize or usually hear only the success story because people really wants to brag about them, and it's cool to say, okay, my games just sold like 100,000 copies, 1 million copies, 200,000 copies, and stuff like that. So you have usually if you read online, you usually have a very partial view on what the indie market is. Because for one game that really do huge numbers, you have a incredibly high number of games that simply fail or sells very low. Actually, the video games market is the entertainment industry, so you are providing entertainment to the people. And so the thing about entertainment is that all entertainment is high risk, high reward market. So You can strike it very high and make a ton of money and sell a lot of copies if you get it right, or your game can basically crash and burn. And it's the same for movies, for comics, and for all this kind of stuff. Actually, in the video game market, you have to know that there is only a small number of games that gain money. Then you have a quite good number of games that, basically what you spend is what you gain, so the project is okay. And then you have a very high number of games that never recover their cost. For big publishers, it kind of works out because they can balance things out. Because maybe they publish 10 games in a year, they have 5 games that do horribly wrong, so they lose a ton of money on them. They have, let's say, 3 games they do okay, so okay, maybe they recover their costs, and maybe in the long run they can gain some money on them. And then they have a couple of games that do really, really, really well. So in the end, they gain some money and they're happy. Also, they have a portfolio of titles that they keep publishing. So, okay, maybe this game is not doing very well, but in 3 years, it's still in my catalog. I'm still selling it on digital store. I'm doing huge discounts. So, as a big publisher or a medium publisher, I can always have a bit of a money stream coming in, and I can do fine. Obviously, you can see that there are tons of big publishers that close down all the time because it doesn't work out. But for a small studio that maybe have only one project that they are focusing on, you have only this one kind of project, so it does well or it doesn't do well, but you don't really have other options. The second thing is the market is incredibly overcrowded. And for incredibly overcrowded, I'm telling you that basically you can play a lot of games on a lot of different platforms at all the time. I'm not telling you that the Steam is overcrowded or iOS is overcrowded. The whole market is crazily overcrowded right now. So you don't have to focus only on a single platform, but really looking at the platform as the market as a whole. Because maybe I don't want to play on Steam, I'm playing on my phone, and it's a competitor for me. And that's why you're constantly fighting to get players' attention. Because what I think is very, very, very hard right now is, okay, first I have to convince my potential buyers that my game is interesting. Only after I've caught their attention, I can really try to push the game and sell the game to them. But the real problem is that the players or people can get distracted very easily, and you are competing for their time basically right now. So you need to convince people that they really want to spend some hours with your game, and not only playing other games, but also watching Netflix or going out seeing movies or stuff like that, because it's all entertainment. And right now it's very, very easy to just, I use my phone, I play some games for 5 minutes, and I'm distracted by it, and I'm not focusing on your game anymore. And what you saw was that indie games used to be, I'm speaking about some years ago, was this incredible novelty, because there was all AAA games, and then, there is some, 2D games that still get made, and I can play something that's incredibly innovative like Braid, and no one was doing stuff like that back, and Braid was a huge success, or Super Meat Boy. No one was doing this kind of very hardcore 2D platforms back then. And they were a huge success, but the market was totally different back then. Today, if you do probably, 2D platform, the market for 2D platform is incredibly crowded. Everyone is doing a 2D platform right now because they are quite easy to do. Maybe you don't do it very well. To do a 2D platform very well is incredibly hard, but there are lots of platforms on the market. So you really, really, really have to have something unique and to communicate it to the player. If you look around and see what games actually get attention, you see that they are all very, 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 very peculiar stuff. They have unique selling points. They are striking to see, to watch them. Let's say, for example, maybe the most successful game right now, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. They had an incredible pitch for the game, and they had a ton of experience doing this kind of stuff. So they have a huge team doing this kind of game. Back then, they are very experienced in networking. They executed on the plan very, very, very fast. And if you want to communicate it to other players, it's like, okay, what's this PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds? It's basically a game when you get thrown an island with 199 other players, and you kill each one out, and the one who survives wins the game. So it's very easy to communicate, and especially it's very easy to stream. So people just started to see streams about the game, YouTube about it, and the popularity of the game just exploded. But you know, it's not the only game like that on the market, but it was the first one to really nail it, and it worked out. You will probably see a lot of competitors, a lot of clones of PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds in the future, but it's very, very difficult that other games will capture the same market as them. So what I really want to do, tell you, is that you're really fighting for the player's time, and it's an incredibly hard thing to get. Actually, just to give you an example, I was at Gamescom this year, and usually where Gamescom, you know, is this huge fair where tons of different games got announced, and you can basically play everything there. What I saw this year was very interesting in the indie space. Basically, if you go around in the business area, you have all the different booths for all the different countries with a lot of different games. You got to the UK stand, so the stand from the United Kingdom game industry, and I think there were like 30 games on display there, and it's a huge number. It was only for UK indie games. I went to the Indie Mega booth. They had 62 games on display this year, only at Gamescom. So we are only talking about the very, very, very best games that can showcase there, that can have money to buy a stand there. You can imagine, and it was only Gamescom, you can imagine how many other games get made. And so there was 62 there, and this was a huge list. Basically, the booth was twice the size of the last year, and it still was twice the size of the year before. If this trend keeps coming, how many games we will have next year? 100, and it's 100 indie games only in the Indie Mega booth space. And this year also, if you saw the booth and you read the name there, you can already, if you knew the market a little bit, you could already pick out which game probably will be very successful, which one will probably crash and burn badly. Maybe they are very well made, but they don't stand a chance on the market right now because they are not really unique and they can't keep the player attention. And a little cautionary tale that's about us. For inexperience especially, both our games underperform. They didn't reach the target that we set. Because for Future Radium, when we launched it, the idea was, okay, we get signed with Sony on the game, so they helped us a lot. They wanted this as a PlayStation exclusive. We did PS4 and PS Vita, and we had a huge marketing push from Sony back then. So we went to E3 with them, we went to Gamescom with them, we went to EGX with them, always in the Sony booth, and we had the video of the game in the various, reel that Sony showcased about their third-party contents. We were in all the communication and this kind of stuff. It was the first game that we were publishing commercially, so we were totally inexperienced, and we did our math like this. It was like, okay, we have like 10 million PlayStation out there. We are getting huge support from Sony. So, okay, we'll probably reach 1% of the market. or well, let's say conservative, probably it's 0.5% of the market, okay, because we have very good push. We are one of the only few games coming out on the platform that week. Actually, when released, the market was, was not saturated like now. It was totally different time. So, okay, maybe we could sell 50,000 copies, 100,000 copies. The reality is that we sold a fraction of that. And in the beginning, we were quite pissed off because it was like, okay, all our numbers were wrong. Speaking with other indie developers, and especially indie publisher, we actually learned that the number we did was quite good for an indie game on a console platform. And I get back to the numbers. The thing is that the numbers are a lot lower than you expect. If you sell 100,000 copies of a game, of an indie game especially, you can consider it a huge success. It's a very, very, very difficult number to do. If you sell 50,000 copies, it's still a huge number to do. If you sell 10,000 copies on Steam or console, well, it still means that you are doing quite well. So if you sell less than 10,000 copies, okay, the game didn't sell well, but you can go a lot lower. It's not strange to have consoles in the game selling hundreds of copies. And I'm telling you that because those are the real numbers that you are facing in the market. So don't start thinking that you'll say, okay, to recoup my cost, I need to sell 100,000 copies because it's probably not going to happen. Also, Forma 8 released on 6 platforms. We actually set our expectation quite low this time because we knew that the market changed and we already had experience from the first game. So we set that very low, and we actually sold less than half what we were projecting for the first month, and released on 6 platforms. We had PS4, PS Vita, Wii U, Steam, Xbox One, Mac App Store. Numbers were actually horrible in the beginning. And so we had like 2 or 3 months that we were really not really happy about that. Fortunately, after the initial shock, we managed to turn things around a bit. So after 3 months released the iOS version, actually we got a huge marketing push from Apple. It was a lot more than we were expecting. We knew that they liked the game. We knew that we would probably get featuring from them, but we didn't expect to have the game evilly featured worldwide on all app stores in the top spot banner. Numbers for the iOS version were very, very good, so we are very happy with them. And actually after that, we did the Switch version. We picked a very good week to release, so we released in late August. Switch was already out from some months. Probably releasing it even earlier would have been a lot better, but it was still a very, very, very good week to release the game. We only have 3 other games coming out at the same time. We only have around 100 game on the store back then, so the game was not the platform was not crowded at all for us, and the game performed really well on Switch. Actually, we sold a bit more, some copies more on iOS, but we earned a lot more money on Switch because we released the game on Switch at $9.99, but we released on iOS at $4.49 at launch, and then after 2 weeks we bumped the price to $6.99. But we earned a lot less monies for copies on iOS. So in the end, if we only look at the numbers of the money we earned, actually the Switch version was the best for us. Another thing that we are doing, we started with Radium. We partnered with an American company called Limited Run Games. So they are publishing boxed version of our game for PS4 and PS Vita. And for those kind of collector's edition on Blu-ray and on a PS Vita card, there is a very, very dedicated collector's market, and we have very high margins on them because the operation is that they select our games, we do a build of the game, they publish it on their own on their own store, so the game only got sold online. The price is a lot higher because we are selling copies for $24.99, and we only have the cost of production because there is no middleman. We sell directly to the consumers. And if you do only a small run like 4,000 copies or 5,000 copies or 6,000 copies, but you have this huge margin, per copy margin, well, it can really add up. So some practical advices to aspiring indie developer, aspiring small indie publisher. First, absolutely minimize your risks, because as I said before, the risk in the video game market are incredibly high. Right now, you can self-publish. You are encouraged to self-publish your game on a lot of different platforms, but if you self-publish, you're basically on your own. So you are taking all the risk on the product. You are financing it, you are publishing it. If the game sells, you get everything, but if the game doesn't sell, you have no safe net under you. You can fall pretty hard. Obviously, the best way to minimize your risk is to find a publisher. If you see the trend, actually, a lot of small indie-focused publisher just popped out in the last couple of years because there is a need for them. A small publisher can finance your game, so basically neutralizing your risk, and they can help you in publishing the game. Do the maths. Actually, when we speak with aspiring game developers or students or someone who are just getting started in the industry, they don't do any maths on their game at all. They don't track how much a game costs to do. And the thing is that doing games is an incredibly expensive endeavor. It's one of the most expensive things you can have. And if you think that making a game costs not too much money, is because you're not really tracking how much it cost. If you factor in the cost of it, it's basically only people's work. So you're paying people to do stuff, and it can add up incredibly high immediately. And that's connected to the other point. Start and possibly stay small, because we tend to see that a lot of indie teams are huge. Okay, we have 10 people, 15 people working on a game, and it's really not sustainable. If you really do the maths about it, keeping 15 people on a project, and we know that doing a game project can take an incredible amount of time, and it's very difficult to schedule, and it's very difficult to keep it in line. So probably you are projecting, okay, it will take 6 months for me to finish the game, and probably in the end we're working on it for a year. It really adds up and the cost explodes. Know the market and adapt very fast. You start developing a game now, you will probably have it ready in 12 months, let's say it. In 12 months, the market can be incredibly different. Actually, in the beginning, for us, we started, Forma 8 was the first game that we started developing. We published for Futuridum Force, but we started with Forma 8. And Forma 8 was done an iOS game. But then we switched to console because Sony really helped us, and we were very, very fast to adapt and to switch market. A lot of people started doing VR games, but now VR games, game industry for VR is not really a viable market. So if you have a VR game in development, it makes sense to maybe switch it to another platform, stuff like that. So really analyze the market, understand where it's going and not where the market is right now. It's incredibly important. Then understand that development is only after work. If you are an indie team or a small indie publisher, yes, you have your development time, but you really need to do marketing, to get in contact with potential investor, to meet with platform holders. There is a lot of work aside from actually developing the game, and it can take an astonishing amount of time. Then absolutely maximize your revenue streams. What we did is our approach to that is publish the game on as many platforms as possible. It can take some works. Obviously, you have to know the platforms very well. You have to understand your engine very well. So, okay, we use Unity, where right now we really know how to use the engine and to maximize it. But for us, we are seeing that having the same game out on 10 platforms can make a huge difference. Maybe you are not gaining huge money from a single platform, but you have those constant small revenue stream, and in the end it can really adds up. So you can have a game that's not performing very well on a single platform, but having it replicated on 10 different platforms can really give you different results. Also think about going on sale. If you do a discount on 10 different platforms, it can have a huge impact than having it only on Steam and on a single platform. Also think about stuff like doing digital edition of the game, because it's physical edition of the game, sorry, because it can really bring you a lot of money in a very short amount of time. Also, the last point is be ready to fail and have a plan B, because in the end, as I said, you're taking a huge risk. So be ready to have a backup plan in the case your game fails.